On a crisp Wilmington evening, Michael Jordan drove through his childhood streets, the familiar sights of North Carolina stirring memories of simpler times. At 61, the NBA legend had seen the world, but this place, where he'd first dreamed of greatness, still felt like home. The corner store he'd once bought penny candy from was now a sleek convenience mart, and the basketball court with its rusty hoop stood as a relic of his past. Kids shouted and laughed there, their voices carrying through his open car window, pulling a smile from him despite the weight of a long day. He was meant to be at a business meeting, but nostalgia had drawn him here instead. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in fiery hues, a figure behind Joey's Pizza caught his eye. Someone in tattered clothes, rummaging through a dumpster, shoulders hunched against the chill. Something about the man's movements, the way he shifted his weight, like a player ready to drive the hoop, struck Michael as eerily familiar. His heart raced as he pulled over, squinting through the twilight. Could it be? The name slipped out before he could stop it. David Thompson, his childhood best friend, the one who'd taught him his first basketball moves, now reduced to this. Michael's mind reeled as he jumped out of his luxury car. The door left ajar in his haste. The man's head snapped up at the sound of his name, eyes wide with recognition, and for a fleeting moment, Michael was 12 again, passing a ball to David on that same court nearby. But David bolted, ducking into the alley behind Joey's Pizza, his movements jerky and desperate, nothing like the smooth athlete Michael remembered. Trash cans clattered as David knocked them over, trying to block the path, but Michael chased after him, his expensive shoes pounding the pavement. Down Market Street, David stumbled, catching himself against a lamppost, his breath ragged, his body giving out. He collapsed on the sidewalk, shaking with exhaustion, as Michael caught up and knelt beside him. Up close, the changes were heartbreaking. David's face was weathered, his skin tight over sharp cheekbones, his clothes layers of torn fabric, a sour smell clinging to him. But those eyes, bloodshot yet familiar, were the same ones that sparkled with mischief during their childhood adventures. Michael's voice softened, pleading to help, but David, voice rough and barely audible, insisted he shouldn't be there, that Michael shouldn't see him like this. Determined to reach his friend, Michael suggested dinner at Wilson's Diner, a place still open after all these years, where they'd once shared chocolate shakes as kids. David hesitated, his eyes darting for an escape, but exhaustion drained his fight. With a reluctant nod, he agreed. One meal. Then Michael had to leave him alone. They walked to the diner, David keeping his distance, flinching at passing cars, his body tense as if expecting danger. Inside, the neon sign buzzed and the bell above the door chimed, just as it had decades ago. Customers whispered and stared, recognizing Michael Jordan. But he only saw David, who hunched his shoulders, trying to disappear into their old booth. The waitress, Betty, still there after 30 years, took their order, a double cheeseburger for Michael, a bowl of soup for David, and a chocolate shake with 2 straws, like old times. As they waited, Michael brought up a shared memory. The fake pass David had taught him, the Thompson special, a move that had fooled their coach. A faint smile crossed David's face, but it vanished quickly, replaced by a hollow bitterness. He spoke of dreams that didn't come true, of how Michael had made it while he had fallen, refusing to share more despite Michael's gentle prodding. Their food arrived, steam rising from David's soup, which he ate slowly, as if savoring a rare luxury. Michael watched, noticing the tremble in his friend's hands, the track marks on his arms, a silent story of pain. David suddenly revealed his parents' death in a car crash when he was 19, a tragedy Michael had never known about. The words came haltingly, hinting at more he couldn't yet share. Michael offered his nearby house, a clean bed, a hot shower, but David refused, panicked, sticking to their deal of one meal, a hotel room. Then Michael insisted, noting the rain forecast for the night. After a long silence, David agreed, one night, no more. As they finished, David pulled a yellowed piece of paper from his tattered wallet, their childhood pact written in blue ballpoint pen. We, Michael Jordan and David Thompson, swear to become NBA superstars together, best friends forever. Nothing can stop us. Betty had witnessed it after their first junior league win. Michael's throat tightened at the fragile paper, a relic of their shared dreams, as David admitted he kept it all these years, even as he'd broken their promise. They walked to a nearby hotel, David insisting on walking despite the cold, passing the basketball court where their dreams had once felt unstoppable. At the hotel, Michael secured a room, handing David the key card, their fingers brushing. David's rough calluses a stark contrast to the basketball calluses of their youth. David shuffled to the elevator, shoulders hunched, carrying untold burdens, and Michael caught a fleeting look at his eyes. Someone planning to disappear again. Unable to shake the feeling, Michael lingered in the lobby, pacing for an hour before charming the clerk into giving him a spare key. On the 4th floor, he knocked softly on David's door, hearing movement inside. David opened a crack, surprised to see him, insisting he was fine. Michael stepped in, noting the untouched bed. David had been sitting in a corner chair, still clutching his few possessions. A hospital discharge form slipped from David's jacket, revealing a recent stint in rehab and a departure against medical advice. When David emerged from a shower, looking briefly like the boy Michael remembered, the track marks on his arms told a clearer story of struggle. Morning came, and Michael's fear proved true. The hotel room was empty, the bed untouched, only their childhood pact left on the pillow. David had vanished again. Michael canceled his meetings, texting his assistant about a family emergency, and set out to find his friend. At Joey's Pizza, a young cook called David Guardian Angel, noting how he ensured homeless folks shared leftovers fairly, but he hadn't been seen since the previous evening. At a local shelter, a worker confirmed David often helped break up fights and encourage younger kids, though he never stayed himself, saying others needed the beds more. She suggested old Pete at a coffee cart on Market Street. Pete, a weatherman with kind eyes, called David the professor, describing how he helped homeless kids with homework, even buying them hot chocolate with his scarce money. Pete pointed Michael to the Marshall Street Bridge, warning him to approach carefully. David spooked easily, having seen too much hardship. Under the Marshall Street Bridge, Michael found David huddled in the shadows, surrounded by 3 teenagers with backpacks and school books. David was teaching math, his voice steady and patient, just as it had been when he taught Michael that fake pass years ago. The scene struck Michael hard. Even at his lowest, David was helping others chase dreams he'd lost. One of the kids spotted Michael, gasping, and David's head snapped up, their eyes locking. He sent the kids to school, promising to finish tomorrow, but his body tensed, ready to run. Michael held up their pact, asking if this was David letting dreams die. David looked away, admitting he was trying to give the kids a fighting chance to avoid his mistakes. Michael offered a job at his youth center across town, where David's understanding of these kids' struggles could make a difference. Hope flickered in David's eyes, then faded. He couldn't, not with what he'd done. He backed away, disappearing into the shadows, leaving Michael standing alone by a makeshift classroom of cardboard and milk crates. For 3 days, Michael's security team tracked David's movements, helping kids with homework, organizing food lines at Joey's Pizza, sleeping in different spots each night to stay safe. On the 4th morning, a call came at dawn. David had collapsed under the bridge. Michael arrived in minutes, finding his friend curled on a cardboard bed, shivering, his skin burning with fever. David mumbled against going to a hospital, unable to afford it, but Michael scooped him up, alarmed at how light he felt, and rushed him to the city's best private hospital. Within an hour, David was in a private room, doctors hovering. The lead doctor reported severe malnourishment and pneumonia, but hesitated, suggesting Michael speak to David directly. Inside, David looked small against the white sheets, and 4 dripping fluids into his arm. He admitted to a cancer diagnosis 6 months ago at a free clinic, believing it was his punishment, a reason to stop trying to fix a broken life. Michael insisted on the best treatment, but David refused, saying he didn't deserve it, not after what he'd done. David finally shared his devastating truth. After his parents' death at 19, which everyone believed was caused by a drunk driver, he revealed it was him, celebrating a college team spot, drinking at a party, thinking he was fine to drive. He wasn't. He woke in a hospital to learn he'd killed his parents in the crash, a truth covered up by his small town's basketball program. The guilt consumed him, leading to pills, addiction, and the loss of his basketball dreams. Then, 15 years ago, using again, he caused another tragedy, a hit-and-run that killed Michael's cousin, James. He'd woken with a scar on his face from the windshield, learning he'd taken another life. At James's funeral, David overheard Michael speak of James's work with troubled kids, inspiring him to help homeless youth under the bridge, trying to honor James's legacy. Michael reeled, memories of James's funeral flooding back. The anonymous donation that paid for it had been David, who sold everything to atone. David refused Michael's offer to fund his surgery, believing he didn't deserve it after what he'd done to Michael's family. Morning brought hope. The doctors revealed David's mass wasn't cancerous, a misdiagnosis from a free clinic's limited equipment. It was a benign tumor, treatable with surgery. David broke down, having planned to die as punishment. Unsure how to live, Michael held him, promising to teach him how to live again, step by step. But another confession weighed heavy. David's hospital admission papers documented his role in James's death. Michael sat outside the police station at dawn, the papers in hand, torn between justice and mercy. A text from a security team showed the bridge kids waiting for their professor, lost without him. One girl shared how David had saved her from drugs, revealing he'd told him his whole story to show where rock bottom truly was. Michael realized James, who believed in redemption, would have wanted transformation, not punishment. Back at the hospital, he tore up the papers before David's surgery, choosing redemption over retribution. David recovered, and a month later, he taught his first class at Michael's youth center, the bridge kids in the front row. Photos of James and their childhood basketball days hung on the wall, a testament to a long road of forgiveness. Michael watched, knowing the greatest justice lay in second chances, in lives transformed, in the quiet power of mercy to heal countless others. This journey of Michael and David shows us that redemption often hides in the shadows of our darkest mistakes. Sometimes the truest justice isn't found in punishment, but in forgiveness that changes lives. Where are you listening from? Drop your city or country in the comments. What moved you most? David's guilt, Michael's mercy, or the kid's hope? Did you expect the ending? What would you have done in Michael's place? If this story inspired you, like and subscribe for more tales of second chances. Share it with someone who believes in forgiveness. It helps spread stories that matter. Until next time, keep believing in the power of mercy to light even the darkest paths. Notes: